Hello from the Nigerian's capital city, Abuja. Welcome to this edition of the podcast show, the Leadership Dialogue. I am Chikodinaka Dili. Now, the trendiest gist in the Nigerian political space is the ongoing feud between the Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Senator Natasha Akpoti. The episodes of drama and which best describes the recent turn of events began as a seeming misunderstanding on the floor of the Senate, a stark reminder of how the house of cards that is Nigerian politics thrives on personal vendetta, power struggles, and allegations that often scuttle the overall interest, causing a broader implication for governance and public interest. The Natasha Akpabio sexual harassment saga is not just about the allegation of misconduct, but also a reflection of a seeming power dynamics within the Nigerian political system. Now let's paint a bit of a scenario. Senator Akpabio is a Senate president who wields significant influence, and his position obviously makes him a target for both legitimate scrutiny and political maneuvering, while Senator Akpoti, on the other hand, is relatively new to the Senate. Her allegations could be perceived as an attempt to challenge the status quo and assert her presence in a male-dominated arena. However, the timing and the nature of the weighty allegation is raising questions about the motive behind them. Are they driven by a genuine desire for justice and accountability? Or are they part of a broader political strategy to undermine Senator Akpabio's authority and position? I have in the studio a politician and a lawyer, Barrister Ken Osoga. We would meet him after this break to stay.
Ready for change? Join LJE Nigeria, an innovative organization driven by change, growth, and economic advancement. For membership details and registration, visit our website ljenigeria.org or follow us on all social media platforms.
Now, good to know you're still here with us. I have joining me now a lawyer and a politician, Barrister Ken Osoga. Good to have you joining me.
Good to see you again after a long time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's really pleasant having you in the studio.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So you do a lot within the National Assembly space. And from your experience as a politician, you understand the dynamics, the political dynamics of politics in Nigeria. And also you have a bit of a knowledge of how the National Assembly runs its day-to-day activity. The biggest story, Natasha, and the Senate President. What's your view on it?
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Nigerians. My immediate take on this is that they should stop entertaining us. There are so many pressing needs for Nigerians to talk about at this particular hour. The country is reeling from bad economic decisions of this government, and that should preoccupy the attention of Nigerians. So if there is anybody who says her right has been violated, I think the matter has gone to court, which is even prejudice at this point, But what I'm trying to say here is that Nigeria is being bedeviled today by serious economic hardship, which Nigerians should be talking about. But if people decide to throw away this and they are tantalizing us with somebody who says, you are rubbing pancake, and I'm going to court because someone says I rub pancake on my face, and someone says you're harassing me sexually. Come on, we should talk about something more serious. As a National Assembly, we should talk about something more serious. We should talk about the economic decisions of this government, the removal of fuel subsidy, the increment in the electricity tariff. How is it affecting everyday life? So, but someone is quarreling because his seat was moved from one location to the other. Shouldn't be the take of Nigerians at this point.
Well, we have two issues on ground.
Yeah.
First, the issue of the seat removal, and then something even weightier, the sexual harassment. You consider that as tantalizing?
Well,
are we not talking about the impact
well,
this may have on
the
the
well,
National
the well,
Assembly?
it is one thing to level allegation. It is another thing to prove it. The truth is that the allegation about sexual harassment is a weighty allegation. I agree with you. It is covered under Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, Section 14 specifically, frowns at that. It is completely very heavy, weighty. But what I'm saying here is that this 10th Senate should get more serious on the issues affecting our everyday lives of Nigerians. That is my stand on this issue. But I'm not trying to trivialize her position about someone trying to say that I'm being molested or I'm being harassed because I am a woman, or because you are in your intro, you said she's trying to make her way in an arena that is dominated by men. So I'm not trivializing the issue. What I'm trying to say here is that there are more issues confronting us. And even if I should take that matter from the analysis I have seen, from what I have seen around that matter, there is something in that matter that meets the eye.
And what's that?
Because I believe that the Senate President and distinguished Senator Natasha Akpoti must have had a relationship that predates even coming to Senate. And I have a proof for this.
What proof?
You understand? There is a company called Legend Arc Energy International Limited. That company is being, I have it on good authority that company is being promoted by distinguished Senator Natasha Now, as at 2018, between 2018, 19, 20, that company was a major player in NDDC. That company, I am aware that company secured hundreds of millions of contracts in NDDC. And at that material time, the Senate President was the Minister for Niger Delta Affairs.
Okay.
At that material time again, the Senate President wrote to the President of Nigeria, then President Buhari, to seek approvals for the Senate President not to constitute the board of NDDC, because he said there was one famous quote, traceable to him, when he said that people were running NDDC like an ATM machine.
And I remember vividly that was another subject of...
Yes. Now I'm trying to get to somewhere. Now he said he dissolved the board of NDDC and said that people were running NDDC like an ATM machine, and that he needed to sanitize the place, the agency, the commission. Now, I have sat in federal government board before as a federal board member, and I know that when there is no board in place, approvals are given by the minister. Now, to give approvals for contracts of hundreds of millions to any company must have been approved by the minister. Now, Natasha has a company called Legend Arc Energy International Limited that was doing contracts for the NDDC at that material time. And those jobs were approved by the minister. So I don't want to delve into an arena that is beyond me. So I think it is quite, the moment the senator got into the Senate, she was given Senate Committee on Local Content. That was too big a committee to give to somebody who just got into the Senate, a first timer, an opposition member. It's not too big anyways, to qualify my statement. It's not too big. Any Senate committee chairmanship position can be given to anybody. But I'm saying that these things are not just happenstance. There has been something there. Maybe there is a relation, because even when the lady was talking on Arise TV, she said that the husband was a very good friend of the Senate President. So I don't want to get myself involved in an issue that might have been, a family affair that I don't know what culminated, because it started by the Senate President. The woman got up one day to say something at the Senate, and Senate President hushed her down and said, look, this is not a nightclub where you just jump up and say things with out of turn. You remember that? Then subsequently, the Senate President apologized for using such word. The next thing was, my seat has been moved. The next thing is, I am being harassed sexually. So there is a combination of events. You understand? So I don't want to get myself involved in this conversation, because there is something more pressing for Nigerians to talk about.
Interestingly.
And sometimes I think that politicians dramatize these things to take away the real issues from the public so that we don't get to talk about what we are supposed to talk about.
Interestingly, however lame this may sound, many will tell you that at a point in time that we're in a time when we are asking for transparency and accountability from our leaders, and then this comes up. Do you not think it's a way of also drawing the attention of Nigerians to the upper chamber of the National Assembly in terms of seeking true transparency and accountability from the leadership of the National Assembly?
With all due respect to the lady senator who alleged that her right was violated, seeking transparency, I would not want Nigeria, budget has just been signed by Mr. President. I would want Nigerians to seek transparency in understanding how the National Assembly is implementing this, or rather the executive is implementing this budget. I would rather want Nigerians to look into the budget that has just been signed by the Mr. President to see if this budget tallies with the needs of Nigerians. If this budget was padded, if there was contract padding, if it's going to be implemented, the contents of this budget, the line items, are they in sync with the everyday needs of Nigerians? That is transparency for me.
But Sir Saga, do you also share in the opinion that this may be a veritable time for Nigerians to begin to call for a systemic reform of our political system?
I mean, if this issue happening at the Senate should trigger
yes,
a reform.
Of course. You know, prior to this time,
yes,
there's been a lot of calls for
yeah,
reform of Nigerian political and electoral system.
yeah.
And then even the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, and also the former head of state, Gowon, about a few weeks ago, made the same call for electoral system rejigging. So is this not also throwing up the issue of systemic reform in the political space?
Yeah, it does. It does. And for me, it does to the extent that the kind of characters we vote into power, there's the need to reform our electoral system so that we vote in the right persons. You understand?
And that also affects the National Assembly.
Yes.
Over time, there has been this issue of loyalty as against...
Thank you. Because, you know, sometimes, loyalty you talked about, some people find it difficult to distinguish what loyalty means. Is it loyalty to the Constitution, to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, or loyalty to individuals? So, and at some point, you know, because our institutions are weak, people don't get to understand when the loyalty to individuals should stop and when loyalty to the nation should begin. You understand? So, but in coming back to the conversation, I think the Senate President, with all due respect, this is a very weighty allegation. He needs, like I said, I don't want to get myself into this conversation, but as a matter of fact, for the fact that he sits atop the Senate as the first among sequel, this is an allegation. Yeah, this is an allegation that impugns on your character. So there is a need for him to submit himself for disciplinary investigation. He doesn't need to step aside as Senate President. He doesn't need to resign.
So
but there is a committee.
Investigation?
No. There is a committee in the Senate that is already investigating the lady.
The Code of Ethics Committee.
Yeah, the Ethics and Privileges Committee.
According to the Order 6, Section 1, subsection 1 and 2 of the Code of Conduct Committee of the Senate, it was really clear as to how such issues should be conducted. Now, it didn't talk about sexual harassment. However, we know that there is an issue before the Code of Conduct Committee. So that does not talk about the sexual harassment.
It doesn't need to expressly.
It talks about seat removal. But what is before the public as of today is sexual harassment.
We're saying the same thing. I think you're mixing two things up. The Section 6 talks about seats, the arrangement of seats. Section 6, there is the order of the standing rules, Order 6 rather. Now, we are talking about somebody who says, I have been harassed sexually. It's a crime on its own. You understand? I told you that there is an act passed in 2015, Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act.
Absolutely.
Now, it's a crime. So a senator has leveled allegation of commission of crime against the Senate President. So whether the order contains that or expressly contains it or not is a different ball game. So the Senate cannot just, they can't gloss over it. They can't sweep it under the carpet.
But
so I'm not
has it
saying
been
that
officially or formally communicated to the Code of Conduct Committee?
I'm not aware because the spokesperson of the Senate said yesterday that the only thing available on records is the matter they referred to, the disciplinary matter they referred to the Ethics and Privilege Committee. Because emanating from the shouting match between the senator and the Senate president.
Absolutely. The same spokesperson of the Senate, in the same live interview, also insisted that these subjects will not be discussed because it has not been formally communicated. And then I ask, is he wrong?
It is, if he said so, it is absolutely very wrong for him to say so. Because he doesn't need, no one, you don't need anybody to write a petition to the Senate Committee on Ethics and Privileges and Public Petition for Senate to talk about this. When issues bordering on the integrity of the Senate appears on newspaper, someone could just raise his hand up during plenary to say point of order and raise that as that this is an issue bordering on the integrity of this Senate. And on that note, the Senate will discuss it. You don't need anybody. So as they're having plenary today, I'm expecting that a senator will raise his or her hand up to say, there is a raging issue in the nation. And as a senator of the Federal Republic, I am a member of this Senate, and there's an allegation against the head of this Senate that he sexually harassed one of our members, and this thing impugns on the integrity of all of us if we don't address it. Then on that note, there will be the motion, like a motion, so it will be debated, and on that note, it will now be sent to an appropriate committee to investigate and refer back to the General House. So now, I read what former president of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, was saying. He was urging the Senate president that, look, that he had a similar allegation against him when he was there. He's not saying you are guilty, but this has to be investigated. So no senator can come out and say, we can't talk about this. No, you have to talk about it. Even though that is not what is actually the major preoccupation of Nigerians at this time. It shouldn't be what is bothering us. But for the fact that it borders on the leadership of the Senate, the integrity of the people who are leading us, it has to be investigated.
But at the moment, there are some opinions or people who believe that the only person that can ask the Senate president to step aside for an investigation of this sort is the president.
I am not saying that the Senate president should step aside. I haven't said that.
Just a minute.
Yep.
Because for an investigation to be properly carried out and for the people of Nigeria to see that there is absolute transparency in the course of the investigation, it's only right for the Senate president who has been accused to step aside, for proper investigation to take place. But in the time where we both live, many believe or many say that the president is the only person who can ask the number 3 person, that is the Senate president, to step aside. Isn't that the right thing to be done? And do you see President Tinubu asking Senator Akpabio to step aside?
We run a democracy, and this democracy we run is anchored on separation of powers. So look, it makes mockery of our democracy to even discuss this, that the President Tinubu should sit down in Aso Rock and order the head of the legislature to step aside for investigation to be carried. No, this is an independent arm. This is an independent arm of government. So it is the members there that can urge their president to step aside, not the president of the country. But let me say something. I don't believe the Senate president should step aside.
Why?
The reason is that because we are setting a dangerous precedent if we should ask him to step aside. Because anybody can wake up. I want to say something. Allow me to conclude.
Just a minute. Sorry to interrupt you, but in other climes, when an allegation of this sort is levied against a principal or a legislative arm or whoever's the right thing that is expected is that such a person step aside. We have had some precedents abroad, both in the US and even in the UK, even one around the current president of the United States, Donald Trump. And you saw how that was.
I'm trying to get to somewhere. Now, the peculiarity of our democracy is different from what's obtainable in the UK. They run a parliamentary system, we run a presidential. But now let me tell you, what the Senate President needs to do, and that is the right thing he's supposed to do, is that, like today, for example, if the matter is brought up today and deliberation is ongoing on that matter, he can step down from that seat and let the Deputy Senate President take over the deliberations of the Senate today. Because he cannot be sitting as a judge in his own cause. You understand? Then, when the matter is handled by the committee that they referred it to investigate and report back, then the day the report will be laid at plenary, Senate President shouldn't sit on that date too, because he shouldn't sit to consider a report that is talking about himself. So, but for him to step aside completely as the Senate President, so that means if I wake up tomorrow to write a petition to the privileged committee of the Senate to say Senate President is a thief, then he should just step down.
No, but
people shouldn't. No, that's what I'm saying. That if you anchor it on that, we will be setting a dangerous precedent where
how dangerous is this precedent?
Because what it means that anybody can wake up one day and say, Senate President came to my house and slept with my wife.
No, we are talking about an allegation on sexual harassment.
Yes, it remains allegation until it is proven.
And do you also believe that if the Senate President continues in his role as the leader of the National Assembly, that would also impact negatively? So
it will if it is not investigated.
On the outcome of the investigation.
Okay, it will impact on the outcome of the investigation. Well, I don't know how people might perceive it, but the truth is that, like I said, the way to show transparency, openness in the investigation of this matter is that any day this matter...
Step aside totally from the matter.
Yes, from the matter, not to step aside as Senate President, no.
And from leadership in the period for which this investigation is going on.
No, I don't encourage that. That's my own personal opinion on this issue. I don't encourage that. He should step down.
But we're talking about openness, transparency, and accountability. He also needs to show that he's one person that Nigerians can hold accountable.
He needs to, because the truth is that this allegation is one allegation
it's
too
still
many.
An elective position.
It's one too many, because this Senate President, so in the time past, someone had, leveled allegation against him on this matter, on issues relating to this. You understand?
And that makes it even weightier.
So it even makes it weightier. So, in law, there's something they call similar facts evidence.
Okay.
You understand? Similar facts occurring almost the same manner, the same facts, and there's something they call character evidence in law. So these things are weighing against him, because in 2021 or thereabouts, Joyce Nunez, the former managing director of NDDC, said that she slapped the Senate President for trying to come at her, wrongfully. So if that happened then, and this one is happening again, so it calls for proper investigation to see if this Senate President is someone who harasses women. Well, it has to be investigated properly.
You know why I talked about this is because as of yesterday, the Arewa Forum, as well as Pandef and some other groups, Yoruba group, and across the nation, they have all at separate times called for the Senate President to step aside.
Oh, I'm not aware that. I know they are calling for him to. I know they are calling for the matter to be investigated thoroughly, but I'm not aware that they are calling for him to step aside. But
for the period of investigation, that's their
if
call.
The Senate President, if the Senate President elects to step aside for the period of the investigation, fine. That is gentlemanly of him to do. That is beautiful of him to do. But like I said, I am not of the opinion that he has to step aside. But
you are of the opinion that there might be a political undertone to this issue?
To this issue? Well, yes, because that is a political arena. Everything taking place in that place is politics. So are you saying 100% of what happens in National Assembly is politics?
So are you saying that Natasha Akpoti, Senator Natasha Akpoti is also playing politics when she said that a Senate president sexually harassed her.
No, it's possible. I don't want to trivialize the allegation. It's possible it happened. It's possible it happened. But what I'm saying is this. Okay, when did it happen? It happened a long time ago, according to her. But she's just bringing it out now. Now, there is no law that says that if crime does not run out in prosecution of, time does not run out in prosecution of crime. Fine, granted. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that it's just coming out to limelight now. Something is triggering that. So there's a politics in play. But like I said, these two people knew each other before coming to Senate. And I have taken time to prove this to you. You understand? So they should deal with their situation and leave Nigerians alone.
It's more like a love that has gone sour.
No. I'm not saying that there was love between them. No. Remember, there's a relationship there. I'm not saying there is love there because I don't know, so that Nigerians don't misconstrue what I'm trying to say. There has been a relationship there. It could have been a relationship between the husband and the Senate president.
Or the senator and the Senate president.
Thank you. But that relationship, like I said, I've been able to prove to you here that there was a business relationship between the Senate president and the woman. There was a business relationship that predated the both of them entering into that Senate. The 10th Senate. So there was a business relationship on ground. But whether it was, I don't want to delve into love arena because I'm a lawyer, I should work with evidence. You understand? Like the one I've told you about her company doing jobs in NDDC is provable. You understand? I can prove it that she was doing jobs in NDDC at the time that the Senate president was the Minister for Niger Delta Affairs. Her company secured hundreds of millions of contracts in NDDC. That is what I know. I don't want to delve into something that they will call me tomorrow to come and say, you said this. I can't prove it. I can prove that particular one for you.
Well, do you also share in the opinion of those who believe that a female senator cannot outrightly claim that she has been sexually molested in the National Assembly, given that she is a senator?
I don't understand. I mean, no, come again.
That it is wrong for a female senator to claim that she has been sexually harassed or molested in the National Assembly.
There is nothing wrong.
Reason being that she is a senator.
No. If she's sexually harassed, and given the fact that she even said my husband had reached out to the Senate president to say, stop harassing my wife, and he continued. If you had used back channel means to stop it, and he allegedly continued, then there's nothing wrong in bringing it to public arena. If you think the court of public opinion is what you think will save you. But like I said, they should be bringing, like when she said she wanted to move motion on Ajokuta and the Senate president refused her from moving the motion on Ajokuta. Why didn't she bring that court of public opinion? I've been trying to move motion that will aid my people, and the Senate president is not allowing me. She never said that to anybody. You understand? Why is this taking precedence? Are you prioritizing this before Nigerians? So that's my take.
This is not a subject that should dominate the political space. Rather, she should be talking about how to bring development.
Thank you. They should deal with it privately. And, the Senate president's wife went and trivialized it even the more by coming out to say, my husband is this, my husband is that.
The Senate president's wife is also wrong.
You understand? You understand? My husband is this, my husband is that. I don't get it. I don't get it. Look, we elected your husband to be the Senate president. So allow him to deal with the issue. We didn't elect you. She's not the deputy Senate president. She's not, you are just you are a wife of the Senate president, for crying out loud. Allow your husband to come out and defend the allegation against him. It's not your job. It's not your job.
But at the moment, the wife of the Senate president has sued to the tune of 250.
You know the way we call billions in Nigeria today.
It's something that we should talk about because there seem to be counter, allegations and all.
And Natasha sued for 100 billion as well.
Exactly. And there are some that says Natasha should not be taken seriously because in the past she has had similar scenarios with the former governor of Kogi State and then one of the social activists, Reno Mokre. Where she tried to also place her in the area of Reno Mokre, where Reno Mokre some few days back said that there was a period wherein Senator Natasha tried to rope him into some sexual harassment saga too. So apparently, you feel it's a stock in trade for the senator?
I don't believe so because the previous, I don't know, I'm not aware that she alleged that Yahaya Bello tried to molest her sexually.
Not Yahaya Bello.
Yeah, but I know that Yahaya Bello tried to dehumanize her, allegedly tried to violently when they were contesting, when she ran for governorship.
The one of sexual harassment specifically is on Reno Omokre.
You see,
but then she had a strong fallout with Yahaya Bello, and people say that given the way she fought the matter and came out victorious, she could also.
You see, the chap, the young man, you mentioned his name. You see, I try not to talk about him, you understand, because I describe him in very despicable terms, and I don't want to use such words on your podcast, you understand? So, but the truth is, the allegation bordering on allegation of sexual harassment between Reno Mokre and the senator was not investigated. So if police investigated it and said, no, there is no veracity to these claims, then maybe I should be paying attention to him. But remember, the man is a member of the opposition political party to the lady. He is a member of the APC, Reno Mokre. Whether he likes it or not, he speaks for the government. Whether it is in formal terms or in informal terms, he has used his platform to be speaking for the government, for the APC government. So if he speaks for the APC government and there's an allegation by a PDP senator against the Senate president who is a member of the APC, and Reno Mokre comes in defense, he's an interested party. So I shouldn't reckon with, I shouldn't pay attention to such a, I don't want to pay attention to Reno Mokre. I want to see independent voices on this matter, not someone like him.
So, because when we talk about independent voices, there are some issues surrounding how far or how well the minority senators in the Senate have been able to, throw their weight behind Senator Akpoti. We are yet to see the female senators, for instance, coming to say, oh, we stand with you, or the senators from the minority party in the Senate coming to, tell Akpoti all will be well. Why is that? I thought there should be unity among senators.
Well, I don't know. You see, this question you ask is very, very important. You understand? Because I am disappointed with the current opposition in Nigeria. Beginning from the opposition outside, the people who claim to be opposition leaders, from P2B to Atiku to Saraki to El-Rufai to Amechis and of this world. I am disappointed that they are not offering the needed opposition that Nigeria needs. Every democracy needs opposition to work. I am not saying, with all due respect to Mr. President, without prejudice to what I want to transpire in 2027, it is in the interest of Mr. President, it is in the interest of Nigeria that opposition works in Nigeria. I'm not interested in who wins the 2027 election, but I am interested in the present-day governance of the country. The president needs people to put him on his toes. It is only when there is a virile opposition, robust opposition, that the president can sit up.
And an opposition
now,
leader.
Bringing this to what is happening at the Senate, this is happening, and there are no voices. There is somebody there who is minority leader of the Senate. And when the lady was on Rise TV, she indicted the minority leader that when the minority leader has never done anything to assist her cause in this case, that this is the third time she's suffering this dehumanization, and nobody, the minority leader has just been there. So the opposition elected a minority leader who is on the side of the majority of the ruling party at the Senate. It doesn't make sense. So they have just made Nigerians suffer. Look, every day this government keeps unleashing taxes on Nigerians, and nobody is saying anything. You can't hear opposition voices. That is the reason why the president keeps taxing Nigerians every day, because nobody to stand. So, just once in a while you see some skeletons of, protests by NLC. But in 2014, in 2012 precisely, when Jonathan removed the fuel subsidy, it was the opposition then that galvanized the NLC. NLC is just there, a well-built-out opposition trying to galvanize them. They can't do anything.
What could be
We have opposition parties that are not doing it. They are all rudderless. They are all suffering leadership problems. A Labour Party does not have a chairman. PDP does not have a chairman. NNPP, where you have the governor who is the father-in-law of the leader of the party, two of them are quarreling. No party is functioning. No political party is functioning under the president.
What could be the reason behind that?
The simple reason is that the president and the ruling party, they've castrated all the political parties. They are not able to come together.
In what way?
I don't know. Maybe it's the subterranean means that I'm not here to talk about. But they say the taste of the pudding is in the eating. You understand? So what we are seeing is that there is no opposition political party that is functioning in Nigeria today.
Could it also mean that the president has also infiltrated these political parties through their leaders? Is that
like I said, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. So if they are not functioning, if they are not functioning, there's an infiltration. Maybe there's an infiltration. And infiltration means that there is, you understand? So
I don't understand.
Something is going on that I don't understand.
And really, what could that be? Because you are a member of an opposition political party.
No,
is it not a shame that your political party...
It is a shame, and I'm calling them out on this program. I'm calling them out that they are not offering Nigeria. They've dashed the hope of Nigerians. They've dashed the hope of Nigeria. People are dying every day. Every day I get calls of people asking me for 3,000 naira, 2,000 naira. As if I send you 2,000 naira, how are you able to bring it out? You will go to a ATM machine, they will charge to bring out 2,000 naira. That is how bad it is. That is how bad it is that if you see 1 million naira today, it fizzles out in 10 seconds. And it becomes more difficult today to see 1 million than it was before 2023. And 1 million doesn't last you one day. And somebody is increasing electricity tariff, increasing MTN and blah, blah, and all that. Yeah. So not tariffs everywhere, and it is not trickling down on the economy. It's not trickling because I'm not seeing anything happening. There's no infrastructural development going on anywhere. So all the money we are saving from fuel subsidy, this government said they've saved trillions of naira in fuel subsidy removal. What are they doing with it?
So apparently it is time for opposition parties to
sit up. There is no opposition in Nigeria today. And we continue this way till...
And should it not start with the issue of on accountability and transparency in the National Assembly? It
should start there, because there is lack of transparency and accountability across board, not just National Assembly. That's why I said in my opening speech here that, look, they should save us this issue of Natasha Akpabio story. Let's face the fact that Nigerians are dying. People are committing suicide on a daily basis. Especially my gender. They are not able to marry their wives anymore.
Oh, wow.
Divorce going on everywhere. People are being thrown out of their house because they are not able to pay rent. Landlords are reeling because you pay heavily to build a house and nobody is there to pay rent. I'm a lawyer. I go to court. All the matters lying in every high court in Nigeria today and magistrate courts today are tenancy matters. Recovery of premises. Tenants are not able to pay rent. And that is the realistic thing. And landlords are increasing the rents the more. Because landlord needs to go to market to buy things. So he's increasing the rent. And the one you had before, the tenant is not able to pay it. And you're increasing it again. And I don't blame the landlord for increasing the rent. Because the prices of things are skyrocketing every day in the market.
Well, a new political cycle, will I say, is about to begin. In the sense that this year, 2025, would see for instance, Anambra State would have its election, right? And political parties like the PDP would also have it's re-election of or election of new leadership that is through the convention. And after that, we are expecting to see that of the APC. What practical steps do you think these political parties should put in place to see that issues of leadership, is well addressed going forward?
Well, leadership in their respective political parties.
Political parties, yes.
Well, these political parties are not functioning as far as I'm concerned now. The only thing I see that needs to happen if there has to be opposition today is for there to be alliance amongst these political parties.
Alliance?
Yes, they have to come and form alliance. Now, you use the word that I like very well, realistic. Now, the realistic thing is alliance, not merger. Merger, like the word APC did,
exactly,
is not going to work under this political party. Realistically speaking, this government in power will never allow a merger, because merger has to do with INEC. INEC has to come and approve that merger and form a new political party. They will dissolve it. The only realistic thing that can happen is alliance. This alliance will work in a way where the PDP will abandon that, because Wike has decimated that party. He has ensured that party will not move. That party is lying prostrate today. Now, Labour Party is decimated. NNPP is decimated. Now, the alliance means that there are about 18 political parties. Go and look for one. All of you will move. Abandon that PDP for Wike. Abandon Labour Party for Abure. Abandon NNPP for whoever is causing problem there. All of you. There are about 11 governors in PDP. Shameful that about 11 governors cannot rescue their party from the stranglehold of one man. They should all abandon it for him if they are sincere with themselves. But the truth is that so many of those governors are not sincere. Some of them are behind, supporting, subterraneously supporting Wike in decimating their political party. But if they are sincere amongst themselves, they all need to abandon that political party for him, abandon all those old platforms, go into a new platform, dissolve into that platform. Not even to win 2027 election, but to offer the needed opposition that Nigeria needs at this point. I'm not talking about who will win 2027. We need an opposition party to charge this present president into action, because the man is not doing anything, because nobody is telling him to do something.
Your utterance gives this feel of an authoritarian society, a dictatorial society where one man is in charge. Is that the situation with Nigerian politics as of today? Because I am asking this question following your initial comments on the fact that the APC-led the Tinubu-led federal government will not allow a major political party.
Yes, there is something going on. That thing that is going on is that it looks like. I'm not saying it is. It looks like there is a state capture. It looks like every arm of government, every department, every institution of government has been captured. You understand? And there is this air of fear in the system that everywhere you go to is captured. INEC today, it doesn't look like they are independent, even though their name begins with independent. So that's why I said that if you go to, realistically speaking, in using your word, if you go to INEC today, I'm a player in this game. So I understand that INEC will not, this present day INEC, they will not register a new political party to say you are merging to form a new party. It is not going to happen. So everywhere is captured, including the judiciary where I come from. You understand? So everywhere is captured, everywhere.
Can you give us a scenario, for broader understanding of the state capture?
A state capture means that there are some cartels. You understand? I am
in this present.
I am telling you. I am speaking in hypothetical terms.
What we need to be a bit more realistic. For our viewers watching,
if I have
we need to understand.
If I have told you that there is something that looks like a state capture,
then
now let me speak in hypothetical terms. Okay. Then you will now be the one to conclude whether you don't want to conclude.
I cannot conclude.
Okay, maybe I will leave it for Nigerians to conclude.
Okay.
But let me tell you in hypothetical terms what a state capture means. It means when some group of people who work like a cartel come in, seize government, you understand, whether they seized it through the barrels of the gun or by election, kangaroo election, you understand? Then they come in, then every department of government you go to, when you are grieved and you need to seek justice, you go to court. They are there. They planted judges in the court who will do...
Allegedly.
No, I'm telling you in hypothetical terms what a state capture means. I'm not telling you what is obtainable here. Okay. But I say that what is going on here looks like a state capture. You understand? Now, they planted judges in the system where when you call there to seek redress in court, you won't get it. Your right has been abused. It's been trampled upon. You can't get justice because they are there. You go to National Assembly, the parliament, to pass laws. You can't get justice there because they have planted their men there. You go to civil society, who is supposed to file out on the streets when things happen. When they increase the electricity tariff, when they remove the fuel subsidy, I expected the civil society. Nigeria has one of the most vocal civil societies in the world prior to now. So they will infiltrate the civil society. I'm telling you in hypothetical terms what a state capture means. They will infiltrate the civil society. Media, the fourth estate of the realm, who is supposed to say, look, what's going on? To report what's going on. They infiltrate the media. When something happens, they determine what becomes news. They will pay the editor. The people who go out to hunt for news will hunt for news. Come back to studio to file the news. The editors will say, drop this, drop this. Somebody has paid for these things not to make out to be news. That is state capture. Capture the media, capture the civil society. They've captured the labor union. They've captured the judiciary, captured the National Assembly. Of course, the executive is sitting at top. So,
in your perspective, you believe this is the reason why we have had less protests, despite the increase in tariffs, taxes, and the rising and biting economy.
Nigeria's civil society is at the lowest ebb at the moment. I said we had one of the most active civil society in history. Especially when this president today was leader of opposition. We had a very virile civil society. That is why you have multiplicity. You are in the media space. And I know you've interviewed most of these civil society heads. They come to AIT, they come to your places, they come to your studio. You've seen them. They are no longer, their voices are stifled today. The media, thank God for social media. Nobody will be hearing anything happening in Nigeria today. But, a lot of things are happening and the traditional media organizations are refusing to report them.
There was a recent protest, the End Bad Governance protest that happened, occurred in August 2024. The impact of that protest.
How did you see the impact? The civil society that was supposed to key into that refused to key in. Then let me tell you something about that. Let me tell you, when I say it looks like a state capture. Now, do you know that this government succeeded in running away with the narrative that that protest was treasonable to protest? Today has become...
And that way is still in fear.
Yes, and they use media to paint that narrative.
Oh, well.
Yes, they use Nigerian media to paint the narrative that it is treasonable to protest in Nigeria. Today, all of a sudden, it has become treasonable for people to file out on the streets.
But the Nigerian media is still the most veritable platform, the most transparent platform where...
I'm telling you that when you say Nigerian media, now it depends on what you mean by Nigerian media. Are you talking about Nigerian social media or the traditional media as we knew it in the past? That is fizzling out. Because it is fizzling out.
Okay.
If they continue, the media as we used to know it is fizzling out. And I thank God for social media that everybody is a journalist today in his house. That's why I can see someone like a very dark man, running the show, and everybody's afraid. When he says something, I'm coming for you.
That's citizen journalism.
Yeah, agencies of government will start panicking. So I thank God for things like this.
Well, this is an interesting conversation, and a conversation that would continue because the issues are still cropping up, and from the sittings, the proceedings at the National Assembly today, we expect to see conclusive ideas, being dropped at the floor of the Senate as to how the issues before it can be resolved
I am just
and the issue pertaining Natasha and the Senate President, Senator Akpabio, will be brought to rest, so that it doesn't also, take over public discourse on economy, taxation, and
yeah,
the list
which
goes
is
on.
what we should be dealing with.
Absolutely.
I feel for the lady because I know without sounding immodest or trying to preempt the decision of the Senate. I know she's not going to get justice.
Well,
I know she won't get justice. You understand?
You know she will not get justice.
Yes, like I told you.
That's you preempting the
Yeah,
courts.
I don't want to preempt whatever thing is going to happen there, but whatever thing she might need, whatever thing she might term as justice, is not going to come out of this Senate. I don't know whether it happened or not. That thing she might term as justice is not going to happen. You understand? So I know for sure that this matter, even when investigated, what Nigerians are expecting is not going to be what is going to come out of it. So let nobody be disappointed.
You may have to hold your thoughts also because, like I did say, it's an ongoing conversation. And I most sincerely thank you for your time with me on this podcast show, The Leadership Dialogue. Of course, it's a leadership dialogue because we're here to set the pace for leadership in Nigeria and, of course, amongst our leaders. And we've been speaking with Barrister Ken Asogwa. Barrister Ken is a politician and a lawyer. Thank you very much for your time.
It's my pleasure.
And thank you, viewers, for being a part of this show. I am Chiko Dinaka Dili.